Are you curious about what it looks like behind the scenes of an Amazon KDP seller in their first year selling no and low content books? In this video, I am going to show you exactly what I made in my fourth full month selling on Amazon KDP, which was the shortest month of the year. It was February 2023. And if you've been following my journey, you'll see it was the month I had to get back into the swing of things after having my account terminated by Amazon. Now, I'm going to share plenty of content about my account suspension and termination and how I was able to reconcile it. But the good news is that I did get my account reinstated. It took a little longer than I had hoped, but at least it was an upside. And in February, I was back on track and had my account running. So in this video, I won't spend too much time or focus on that because it was so trying and it really tests your resolve for your commitment to this type of venture. But I talk about the hurdles that we have all the time, and this one was just more of a mountain than a little bump in the road. So I am grateful that I have my account back online, but I will say that that situation really caused me to reevaluate some of the other income streams that I was putting less time and effort into at the time, and I shifted around my priorities because I no longer had the same level of faith that putting all of my focus in this initiative would get me where I wanted my business to be. As you can imagine, I was a little rattled with how sudden the termination was and how unforeseeable it was, given that I had read all the rules and thought I was following them completely. And you will see that in some of my numbers. But I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving you a little bit of foresight into what we were working with at the end of January and what I'm working with rolling into February. So, in January, I had 13 units sold by January 25th. That's when my account was terminated, and it was not reinstated until February 1st. So I did lose almost that last entire week of January in sales, and even so, I had 13 books sold. The first thing I noticed in February once my account was back online was that I didn't get my first sale of the month until February 9th. I was happy to see that when I did get that sale, I actually brought in 2 units in a day. But it was kind of surprising to me because back in January, I felt like I was seeing a little bit more consistent sales. And honestly, that was the longest I had gone without a sale since I started publishing. I looked back at my November, December, and January reports, and I had never gone 9 days without making a book sale. So, of course, when my account was terminated on January 25th, I immediately stopped making sales then through the end of the month. And even though my account was reinstated on February 1st and all of my published books went live, I was right back where I had started. So I didn't have to republish any books. All of my drafts were still there, ready to go. But it did still take 9 days to see any sales. Now, I haven't read reviews or talked to any other KDP sellers, but part of my instinct is that the termination did cause this impact a little bit. I can't help but thinking that if it takes your book a week or two to index when it's new to the platform, that when your account is shut down, there has to be some type of correlation with having to re-index your books as live again. But again, I haven't seen that anywhere. I haven't read it. I haven't truly looked into it. But I can't help but think that there's some type of correlation there. I do know that February has the potential to be a slower month, but the fact that I did well in January compared to December, which I wouldn't have expected, just made me think that there had to be some type of causal relationship in this instance. So that said, even after the first 2 sales, I never saw another multiple unit sales in a single day. I did have a couple days with sales, but all in all, only had 7 units ordered. Just like I always like to point out, the units ordered up here is next to this listing of all 180 books for the month of February, but that number is referencing how many books I had at the time I took this screenshot. In February, the total books I actually had published was 112. It shouldn't come as any surprise to you that that's the exact same number of books I had published at the end of January, meaning that in the month of February, I did not publish a single new book. So this is one of the metrics that I referenced at the beginning of the video about how my numbers definitely will start reflecting the hesitancy that I started feeling this month after my account termination. Before this, I had some big lofty goals for Amazon KDP, and I was publishing a minimum of 10 books every single week. In fact, being pregnant with my second child and due at the end of March, I actually had goals of getting 300 to 500 books published before my child was born so that I could see how this platform ran almost on its own with all of those books uploaded. And if I had the time or energy, I could maybe post a little bit of marketing content, but I wouldn't have to use a lot of brain power, time, or focus in content creation of new books. That said, this wrench that was thrown in it turns that all upside down, and I really slowed down and pulled back because I didn't want to put a lot of extra time and effort into creation of something that could really be taken away so suddenly and so shockingly to someone who really thought that they were a strict rule follower. So that said, in the prior months, while I did see growth of units sold, that did also come alongside publishing several new books in those months. And it was nice to see that in spite of an account termination and not publishing a single thing and still not doing any marketing, I did still make some sales. So in terms of truly passive income, this month of February could not have gotten much more passive. Ultimately, those 7 books converted to $12.62 in royalties. My average of 2 something a book had pulled down a bit. I think I had several books that I was looking at $1.89 royalty on and was trying to focus on increasing volume of books to take advantage of traffic and seeing if I could kind of get that snowball rolling first. But by the end of February, I hadn't seen much proof that that direction was any better or worse than just sticking with a higher royalty and selling lesser books. All in all, my takeaways from the end of February really center around having that resolve and that focus and that motivation to overcome obstacles, even the ones that seem absolutely insurmountable. Now, if your account is actually terminated and you cannot get it back, that is insurmountable in this case. But there is still a path forward and a path to success, even if you pull back a little bit and you're more tentative in this process than you were to begin with. This is also good for a lot of you to know if you have less time to commit to Amazon KDP. Whereas at the beginning of my process, I had big lofty goals. I had published 100 books in my first 2 months, and I had just buckled down and committed to spending all of my spare time in creating more quality content to get launched before the end of March. But I think what I've seen with the account termination and with publishing nothing in February, that's a really great case study for those of you to see who may not have that level of time or that level of interest in producing that much content, but you can still see that there's a win for you in even just producing a fraction of that. So circling back to whether Amazon KDP is really worth it for new sellers in 2023, I think it's only fair to say I'm a bit more hesitant than I was in prior videos. I would say, sure, there's really no risk other than using your own time, energy, and creativity, but there is no cost that goes into it, and as long as you're treading lightly and making sure that you're balancing your time and effort with other initiatives that are potentially more stable in the long run, then I think it's worth giving a shot. But we'll have to see come March and throughout the rest of this year, especially with this maybe more jaded outlook that I have right now. But that said, don't give up. If that's happened to you, I'd love to hear about your experience. Drop them in the comments below. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them the best I can. Otherwise, that's it for February. Make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, and that way you won't miss the March income report, and you can follow as my Amazon KDP journey continues to pan out.